Okay, check these guys out. So this is a Neanderthal man. Oh, this thing's not focusing properly, unfortunately. But this has been playing on my mind quite a bit because I've seen a number of these cryptids over the years. I don't know, like maybe 80 experiences, possibly closer to 100 by now. And this guy on the left, Neanderthal, well, what if everything they told us was a lie, but what if it actually had a fragment of truth? So, the faces of some of the cryptids I've seen have been a lot like this guy, Neanderthal, and even kind of like the guy in the middle, but you know, he looks actually a lot like modern man to me. But what if these things were not primitive, as we've been told, and what if they also were not extinct? And what if it is not actually an evolution? What I mean is, you know, the one of the best history books you can get your hands on is the Bible, and it talks about a senior race, if you will, our elder siblings created by God, and what if that's what we're looking at right here? That could be true. And what if they were not primitive at all, but actually highly advanced in many ways? That would explain a lot of, you know, what we're seeing with cryptids. And then, but here you get over to this guy here. This guy's supposed to be way back, but look at the length of his arms. His back legs are actually shorter. And on this guy here in the middle, well, all these three have, you know, longer arms than their legs. And these two are probably about equal length. And most of the cryptids I've seen, their legs and arms are about the same length. So I suspect what's really going on here is that these cryptids are, you know, that several things are true. That they are prehistoric, they are not primitive, they never went extinct, and they are very possibly what God delegated to be the watchers over men. So, you know, the modern day Bigfoot cryptid could very easily be, you know, I believe the biblical terminology is Raphaim, something like that. I don't know. I'm just postulating. There's a bunch of guys I watch. Timothy Alberino talks about our elder siblings. L.A. Marzulli, you know, he has a very biblical-leaning belief system. So does Scott Carpenter, who did a lot of research. So does David Paulides. And, you know, but David Paulides, he's very careful about, you know, saying what these things are. But just from what I can gather from people who, how would you say, you know, that I'm not decreeing that's what these people are. I'm postulating it's possible what their origins could be. And I back it up with a couple of things. Like I've experienced mind speak a number of times with cryptids, Bigfoot, and I've asked them, what are you? And the answer I've gotten half a dozen times was, you know. And what I knew, what I believed, was that they were descendants of the fallen, or the watchers, sorry. And, well, they could be both, really. But anyway, they just say, you know, you know. But I did have childhood experiences with them. But I believe it explains an awful lot. And the other thing that I've noticed about these, you know, through what communications I have experienced is that, like, if you are, how would you say, spirit walking with them, which is basically a dream journey, they generally don't hold much back, but they will delete your memory of the experience after. Or you might even do it yourself, like, you know, because it happens while you're sleeping, and remembering what you experienced is a bit of a struggle, you know, because most of us, like, dreams don't make sense, and dreams involving these things seem just as nonsensical, just as surreal. You know, like the laws of physics do not apply, and you know, it's such a foreign way of looking at the world, how that, you know, how they feel about it, what they think about it, how they respond to it. That, you know, I think it, in many cases, it's our own subconscious suppressing it. But I think also they play a role in that. That's one of the abilities they have. They're very adept at that sort of thing. And anyway, I'd better not make this video too long, because YouTube seems to get really pissy when I do make a longer video. But you know, these are just some thoughts, and I post them here on my channel to hopefully encourage some discussion about it. You know, like maybe other people have found other things that make sense. But something I have noticed, this is something I've seen myself, because you know, I go out into the woods quite a bit, as much as I can during hunting season, and I've noticed that activity increases dramatically on a full moon. Now, why would that be? And, like, given what I believe, that I understand as accurate information, there's only one reason for that to happen, and you know, it's not necessarily how would you say, a godly reason. You know, maybe possibly an ungodly reason. You know, it is well known that human beings tend to behave very badly during a full moon, and the police quite often have to get involved in intervention because of the dangerous and deadly behaviors that are exhibited. So, you know, the veil's thinner, whatever. But I think there's something to it. It's something I've noticed. And, you know, another thing I'd like to point out is that, you know, you can watch Natural Geographic, but one thing that's consistent is certain apes, gorillas, chimpanzees, whatever, orangutan, eat other species, you know, other varieties of monkeys, or those types of mammals. And so, you know, it's, and Scott Carpenter said this too, you know, like these things are genetically linked to us through their mitochondrial DNA. You know, they're a human hybrid, and they're a lot like us. And some of them are very nice people, and some of them are jerks. And you know, I think he nailed it from my experience. You know, I've been messed with by these things, and they do seem to like to mess with us. But it seems like once they kind of know who you are, they'll generally kind of, you know, leave you alone. It seems like there's a period of time where they're just trying to scare you out of an area, and, you know, hopefully you'll just go away. But like, I find these things are just about everywhere I go, so I can't let them scare me off everywhere. I'd never go out again. You know, and there's different ones in different areas. But for some reason, I seem to be sensitive to it, and other people don't notice a damn thing. And that just seems to be how it is. So, you know, I go into an area and I get a message, leave, and I say, you leave. You know, I'm here. I've got legitimate purpose to be here. I'm not doing any harm. And if you don't like it, you leave. You know, like, you know, and I ask them, what do you think about God giving mankind dominion over the earth? And they generally don't like that, but it's true. And so therefore, you know, if I'm in an area they don't like it, I believe they should move on. And that's just what I think. I'm one of those guys who thinks that. And maybe that doesn't come across as respectful, but you know, I don't know. I was not put here upon this earth to be a doormat. I have every right to be here, and I do not like being pushed out of a hunting area. Oh, it looks like my computer's